think, act, and prosper. You are now tuned into the Money Level Show.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Money Level Show where we think, act, and prosper. Today, this video is brought to you by the Rules Symposium. Be sure to click the link in the description below to check out Rick Rule's annual symposium where he brings a lot of the brilliant minds in the natural resource investing space, and you can get some top quality information on this commodity bull run trade that a lot of people are participating in. I believe that we're in this trade for a decade, and so I want to connect you all with that information. Be sure to check the link in the description to check that out. So now today we are going to go through, are we going through a recession or what? We're going to talk about what is a recession, all those different things. And so I want to give you all this information so that we know what we're experiencing in the macroeconomic environment and our economy or whatnot. And I want to give you all this information so that you all can be sure to be prepared and talk about some ways that we can prepare for a recession or whatnot. So let's go ahead and dive into this. So right here, we are on investopedia.com, which is a investor's best friend. So what is a recession? A recession is a macroeconomic term that refers to a significant decline in general economic activity in a designated region. It had been typically recognized as 2 consecutive quarters of economic decline as reflected by GDP in conjunction with monthly indicators such as a rise in unemployment. However, the National Bureau of Economic Research, which officially declares recession, says that the 2 consecutive quarters of decline in real GDP are not how it is defined anymore. The NBER defines a recession as a significant decline in economic activity spread across the economy, lasting more than a few months, normally visible in real GDP, real income, employment, industrial production, and wholesale retail sales. So obviously, they used to measure this or define this based off of the 2 quarters of negative GDP. Now, the NBER came in and changed that definition up. I mean, we see things like this happening with inflation, where inflation was measured a different way in the 1970s and 80s. And then in the 90s, they went and changed the definition of inflation and, well, not the definition, but how inflation is measured or whatnot. So they went in and changed that. So the NBER is saying that it lasts more than a few months. And so obviously we have the Federal Reserve coming out, Powell coming out and saying that a recession is likely now. And he is also saying that, the economy is strong. So you're kind of getting these mixed messages from the Fed. But we know that the Fed came out and said that inflation was transitory. And then now they're saying that that a recession is likely as they are tightening monetary policy. And you got to remember, before that, they were saying that they were going for a soft landing. So we're getting these mixed messages from the Fed. So we can't really trust everything that they say. We know that usually you want to do, the opposite of what a lot of the mainstream is saying. Or believe the opposite. If the Fed's saying that inflation is transitory, then you want to believe that, hey, inflation is here to stay for a while. So we're going to jump into that as well. So let's go ahead and jump over here to where Jerome Powell is saying. He says that the Fed must accept higher recession risk to combat inflation. And so let's go ahead and see what this clip has to say.
Over coming months, we'll be looking for compelling evidence that inflation is moving down, consistent with inflation returning to 2%. We anticipate that ongoing rate increases will be appropriate. Our overarching focus is using our tools to bring inflation back down to our 2% goal and to keep longer-term inflation expectations well anchored.
But do you agree with the perspective that if interest rates go too high, too fast, it could drive us into a recession?
It's certainly a possibility. It's not our intended outcome at all, but it's certainly a possibility. And frankly, the events of the last few months around the world have made it more difficult for us to achieve what we want, which is 2% inflation and still a strong labor market.
Now we have Jerome Powell coming out saying a recession is likely, especially as they are raising interest rates to combat inflation. And so this is alarming. Obviously, he is saying that, they have their intentions, and we know that their intentions may be good, to most people, but, that doesn't, negate the impact that we feel, so the Fed intends to give us a soft landing. Obviously, that does not reduce the risk of a recession. So let's go ahead and go over here to the GDP now. We see that quarter two 2020, we had negative GDP. It was pretty bad. Obviously, that was the pandemic. Then it just skyrocketed up. Stimulus was injected into the economy. And so we're looking for 2 negative quarters of GDP for a recession. So Q4 2021 was 6.49, Q1 2022 0.37. So 0.37 was the Q1. It wasn't quite negative, but it was very close to being in negative territory. Then you have Q2, which is negative 2.07. So that means that we are on a downtrend and that this could look like a recession coming soon based off 2 quarters of negative GDP. So we'll have to see, obviously, what Q3 has to say, and if that's going to be negative, but we're looking like we're on that trajectory already. And then by the time Q3 even comes, we may already be in recession. So these metrics come from the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta. They do their GDP estimates, and we see that their latest estimate was negative 2.1% for July 1st. So this is for Q2. So Q1 was close to negative. It was close to zero. Now Q2 is negative. So Q3 would definitely be a tell-off for a lot of what speculation is out there about a recession happening. So how do we prepare for this? One way that I'm preparing for this is job security, making sure that your income is locked in, making sure that you have multiple sources of income. That's going to be very important. Another way is to have cash and liquidity, not only to be able to take advantage of cheap assets in the market, to be able to be positioned for when the next bull run happens, but to be able to take care of your bills, take care of your family, having extra food in the house. We know that food shortages are likely coming or whatnot. So being able to have the extra that you may need to get you by during hard times or whatnot, and having an emergency fund is very important. Obviously, it's recommended to have 6 months, but just whatever you can save and just have on hand, just like, okay, I need this. If I need this, I can touch this, So those are some ways that you can prepare. Those are some ways that I'm preparing. So I want to thank you all for joining the Money Level Show. Be sure to leave in the comments how you are preparing and what is going to help you get through the hard times of a recession coming ahead. Obviously, there's other people talking about a depression, so we'll see what happens. But what are you doing to prepare and everything? Leave that in the comment section below. Let's be community-minded so that we all can know what each other are doing and be able to take ideas from each other. So I want to appreciate you all for joining the Money Level Show today. Hope that you all have a blessed day. All right, peace.